Why Chance the Rapper is trash. The big day. Alright, thank y'all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. In all seriousness, Chance the Rapper is a Chicago MC that we all know primarily because he made a really good mixtape 5-6 years ago, actually 7 or 8 years ago now, called Acid Rap. Alright? As a first listener to Acid Rap, maybe back in 2017, listening to the whole thing in its entirety, I was like, I see why people like Chance the Rapper. I see why they think he's a great MC. I see why his chirpy, positive, happy outlook on a lot of stuff is appreciated in his new music, right? Listening to that, this dude seemed really creative. He seemed like a really fun MC, seemed like a really charismatic individual, right? Lots of energy, loads of charisma from what I could get from his music. As time went on, we saw records like Coloring Book, which was still pretty good. Not as good as Acid Rap in my opinion, but still pretty good. You continued a little bit further, and then you saw these antics. You saw these antics that would kind of arise whenever Chance the Rapper would receive criticism of his work. It seemed to be almost censorship in a way. And I remember something like this happening with MTV not long ago after he received some pretty harsh words about one of his albums. I don't exactly remember what album it was, but I remember him having some heavy involvement in getting that article taken down. And that really rubbed me the wrong way, because if you are free to say whatever you want to say in your music, people are free to say whatever they want to say about your music, so long as what they're saying isn't rooted in misinformation or purposeful misrepresentation of your work or you as a person. It only struck me the wrong way because Chance the Rapper has prided himself off of being a mainstream indie artist, right? An independent act that is getting a Grammy for a mixtape. That's almost unheard of. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, here is an independent act who should know what it feels like to be muzzled by the music industry, should know what it feels like to be chained up by music labels, purposefully censoring a journalist's work. That to me was just like, whoa, do you only think you're allowed to be independent and have free thought? That was crazy to me. Despite Chance being a really well-known name at that point, he still hadn't released an album. The atrocity, the cardinal sin, the crime against humanity that is the big day wouldn't come out for another few years. But for the sake of this video, just so that you know what this is about, we're gonna fast forward that time period and we're gonna make our way to the present briefly. Chance the Rapper is now being sued by his former manager, the manager that was with him since day one damn near. And from interviews, from talks, I've seen that this manager pretty much grew with Chance the Rapper as far as experience in the industry. To my knowledge, he hadn't managed anyone before this point, and Chance the Rapper wasn't known nearly as well as he is right now. They seem to be each other's day ones musically. And from reading the suit, it seems that Chance the Rapper placed heavy responsibility of the reception of the big day on his ex-manager. According to the lawsuit, I don't know how to pronounce that, we're just gonna call him C. C's working partnership with Benet, I'm assuming that's Chance, remained strong until early 2019. Then in February that year, the rapper announced, without consulting or informing his manager, that he would release his first studio album proper in July that year. This is something I can completely see happening when you have the arrogance to assume that you can release an album off the strength of your name with no planning, no release schedule. You announcing in February that you'll release an album in July, giving yourself essentially 4 to 5 months to work on it, is me thinking that you think that the name Chance the Rapper is enough for this album to be good just based off of the name. Given the significant amount of work, care, and attention needed to produce an album, the suit goes on. C expressed serious concern with the projected release date Benet had unilaterally announced for the album. With the rapper also getting married the following month, that must have been a horrible wedding, the manager reckoned there wasn't enough time to create, record, and prepare an entire album, and he was right. Big Day was big ass. For all my anime niggas, right? This is basically when Night Eye tried to tell All Might, hey fam, you about to fuck up your life. I can see your future. You don't want to do that. And All Might did it anyway. He's basically trying to tell this man, hey bruh, I'm your sidekick. I can literally see your death in the future. My power allows me to do that. Sit down or I'm gone. I think this is a beautiful parallel. Biggest difference here is All Might was neglecting Night Eye's advice because he wanted to save humanity. Chance neglected his manager's advice because he wants to hurt us. Your music is an attack on humanity. That unrealistic timeline, coupled with unproductive and undisciplined studio sessions, meaning that this nigga was trash, had a horrible work ethic, probably brought people in the studio at whatever time he felt like it, off vibes instead of schedules, resulted in a freestyle-driven product of subpar quality. Oh my God, your manager is saying this about you. I hope Chance remembers that he can never ever get a fucking divorce, because if it does, it invalidates the entirety of the big day. And he didn't give himself a strong start, getting married at 25 years old. Man, do you know how much work it's gonna be to stay married to one woman at 25 for the rest of your life? Not saying it's not possible though. He can definitely do it, but that is a lot of ignoring other women. Imagine Chance cheats on his wife and then the next album is called The Big Mistake. This is one line where I'll disagree with him though. The less than enthusiastic fan response to the record directly resulted in lackluster ticket sales for the follow-on tour. No. Let's change this. The ass album is what resulted in the lackluster ticket sale. It was poor ticket sales, the lawsuit alleges, that resulted in the tour being postponed and then eventually canceled entirely. All of this, C argues, was the result of Benet increasingly ignoring his advice, instead allowing his business affairs to be managed by his father and his brother, aka his yes men. Instead of acknowledging the numerous distractions and artistic compromises that inevitably resulted from time wasted in the studio, because he didn't plan any of these sessions, he just casually threw people in based off vibe and energy and what he was feeling that day, and oh, God told me to do it, all of which contributed to a lackluster album, evidenced by historically, what does the word historically mean? Let's look that up real quick. Historically. With reference to past events. So this means that with reference to past events, the big day historically is a moment to be acknowledged in music for how low those ticket sales were. That means this should be put in a book. The big day, the way it flopped, should be put in a book. He ultimately blames C for the judgment rendered by his fan base rather than accept that his own lack of dedication had doomed the project. Now let me stop right here. I know you're probably wondering, this is all kind of conjecture how you think about Chance right now based off of unproven allegations. These are things that I believe to be the case based off of the blatant censorship that Chance has tried to display in the past, and how this dude casually searches his name on Twitter and gets into arguments with people that don't like his music. I totally see him blaming somebody else for his latest work flopping. And when I say flop, I'm not referring to album sales. I'm referring to cultural acknowledgement, cultural awareness. No one cared about Big Day once it got released. We were all just laughing about how bad it was. Chance, there is a way for you to fix this. If you cheat on your wife and the next album is fire, it's amazing, and that results in higher streams, more support, and that results in better music, more time spent in the studio, essentially you'd be doing God's work, right? Because a man's job is to honor his family. So if you cheat on her, hear me out, you cheat on her, then you get the drive to make good music again, making more money, supporting her and the son or the kid more. This is the best case scenario. Chance, you loving your wife is not gospel. According to C, more than $3 million is owed. He also wants to enforce an industry standard sunset clause so that he continues to earn commission for 3 more years. Benet Sr. has apparently offered a one-off lump sum payment of $350 to a guy that's helped your son run his career since his day one. I do not think that's fair in the slightest, and Chance should never have allowed this to occur. A money conference situation with the father as opposed to Chance himself. Now, this is still alleged, okay? That doesn't mean that this is exactly what happened. There could be motivations for C to be lying about this, but based off of what Chance has displayed in the past, how he's handled other people with differing opinions in the past, I just don't think that this is a lie. All of this led to the Benet family announcing on April 27th this year that C's services were being terminated. That, in turn, kicked off the classic sack manager contract dispute, with C seeking to enforce his oral agreement with the rapper. This is C's biggest issue right here. Now, I do know in the state of Illinois that you can have an oral agreement enforced. You can even have an oral agreement enforced if there was a witness, if you had an email. The oral agreement just needs to be something that both parties can be aware of and can acknowledge. And if he can prove that, then this case is going somewhere. But if he can't, see you out on your ass. I mean, no rational human being says, I'm getting this crazy feeling people want me to kill myself from people just saying that we don't like your music, and do a lot of things I used to do before I got so wrapped up in making this project. Before I got so wrapped up in making this project, nigga, you were making the project for 4 months. How deeply did you get wrapped up? That whole album just sounded like Catholic pandering. Shit that sounds good from a guy who got married the same year he made an album about how great it is to be married. No one's life is perfect at 25, and I guarantee you, if it is, no one wants to hear an album about it. And guys like Chance the Rapper will probably hear that and think, oh, well, that's because they're jealous. No, I think it's because people realize that that isn't real. And just because you can have things that you love, things that you appreciate, things that you're grateful and thankful for, no one would ever say, my life is perfect. Because at that point, who are you marketing this album to? Certainly not the same demographic that catered to you for, you know, acid rap. Not to say that the music that you have to make should all be the same, but people stuck with Chance because I assume that they assumed that the content and the challenges that he faced would be different. Why do you think your fan base rocked with you? Because they thought, oh, I see this dude getting married one day. What the fuck do you think they... Honestly, I think I should sue, and y'all should sue, and anyone who had to listen to The Big Day should sue as well. Then there's this whole God complex, and the God complex to me is something that I think is a very, very nice distraction tool for people that are trying to ignore a lot of their issues. Now, as a believer in a God myself, I don't generally look to who I believe in to solve my issues. I genuinely look to him as a last resort and not usually my first option, because I would like to at least utilize every breath in my body and kind of use up every tool that I know how to solve my own issue before I give those issues to another entity. That's how I feel about that. You may disagree, and that's fine. Me having such a heavy involvement in the decisions that I make in my own life prevent me from saying things as narcissistic as God did this for me, or you know, God put an obstacle in my way even though he knew I'd be able to get through it anyway. So when people do some pretty questionable things and then cite God as their reference point, saying that God was speaking to me in this moment and the results end up horrific, I generally ask myself, who the fuck was talking to you? It really rubs me the wrong way when people cite, reference, and give all credit to the deity they worship. Meanwhile, the people that also help them get there get treated like garbage for the most part. And I get why. It's extremely easy to cite, reference, and give all credit to an entity that is out there you believe in, that you don't have to physically or mentally inconvenience yourself to show your love for. Meanwhile, the people that you can actually show consideration for, you treat like garbage because you think that this was all some divine happening that is specifically supposed to benefit you and you only. Because if you didn't believe that, I don't believe this happens. I don't. Hopefully C gets the information and the evidence that he needs to prove this, because without it, it ain't looking too good.